Hello, everyone. Welcome to the ZK 2.0. This is a joint event with ETH Global that celebrates the launch of Polygon zkEVM Mainnet Beta. This is a special greetings from Barcelona, where most of the zkEVM team is located. And I am Grace. I am from Polygon Labs. I'm also the zkEVM product lead. And today I have the pleasure to also be your MC. We're extremely happy to have these special days and to share it with our ETH global community. This is a community with whom we share values and purpose. We have a very engaging program, and we want to go through it very quickly. You will have some insightful conversations in a fireside chat style. We will have the official launch of Mainnet Beta, and that comes with a surprise. I won't say more than that. 2 awesome panels. We have also an important closing remarks. And without further ado, let me introduce you to Sandeep and Mihailo, co-founders of Polygon, and the ones that will be opening the event. Take it away.
ZM, everyone. Today we our community has come up with this new thing, which is ZM instead of GM. So where the Z describes the ZK part of it, because Polygon is going to be all about ZK from here onwards. Many of you have seen the journey of Polygon, and today is probably the most important day in the journey of Polygon, because at Polygon we were always focused on mass adoption of Web3, and we are very proud that, and because now it looks very obvious, but that time it was not, that we chose layer 2 scaling on top of Ethereum as the path which can actually bring the scalability to the world, with which we can take Web3 to the masses. And we have been very focused. We have always been dedicated towards scaling Ethereum on layer 2, to have these global trustless systems, community owned businesses, to be built and provided to the users, and empowering users, especially the users who are the underprivileged and underrepresented, which is obviously the core ethos of Web3. And before, in 2020 we started with our Polygon POS chain, which was kind of good, which worked at that point in time, whatever was available. But our focus and mission was always to bring the world like true layer 2 solutions. And on layer 2s, there is, like, amongst the researchers, there is kind of global consensus that zero knowledge technology is the end game, right? And because it kind of, like, with the cryptography and the mathematics behind it, it ensures that you can technically have infinite scalability, right? Which is very important for mass scale applications to be built on top of Ethereum, to build on top of layer 2s. And hence, today is the day where we launch our first true layer 2 solution, which is zkEVM, as many of you guys already know. And Mihailo, my brother and co-founder, has been the architect of this Polygon's entire Polygon ecosystems strategy, or kind of approach towards scaling on layer 2 with ZK. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Mihailo to share his thoughts on how he has what's his master plan in his mind, and what he sees forward from here. Mihailo, over to you.
Thanks so much, Sandeep. Hi, everyone. It's a true pleasure to welcome you, everyone, to this great celebration. They're telling us in the background that there's more than 10,000 people tuned in at the moment, which is really exciting and humbling. And yeah, first want to start by saying that Sandeep is just being too generous, and he's exaggerating. I'm just a single contributor to this great success, and Sandeep contributed at least as much as I have, as well as the great team that we are very fortunate to have. And yes, maybe I can just say a few words about this process. So like a year and a half ago, roughly, after a lot of research and experience with different scaling solutions and thinking about how to approach this grand goal of mass adoption of Web3 that we have, we decided that ZK technology, we formed a firm belief that ZK technology is the optimal or the most promising technology when it comes to building Web3 and bringing it to the masses. And we announced that publicly, and we announced that 1 billion fund that we committed to this great technology. And in the meantime, we have onboarded and joined hands with multiple extraordinary talented teams, great individuals, and we really formed what we achieved what we wanted to do. We established a ZK powerhouse within Polygon. And the first major result of and deliverable of this great team and this great process that I'm really honored to have been participating in is the zkEVM announcement. zkEVM, as Sandeep mentioned, and as is generally known, is considered the holy grail of blockchain web infrastructure. And that is because it simultaneously offers three very important features. One is scalability. As we know, we want to onboard the world to Web3, basically, and we are far from the sufficient levels of scaling. So zkEVM addresses that. The second one is security. We know that in general in Web3, we operate with economic concepts and funds, etc., and we want to leverage ideally strong and proven security of Ethereum, which is the strongest, the most decentralized programmable blockchain in the world. And the third very important feature is EVM equivalence or compatibility, which allows us to leverage all these great important tools, programming languages, and user interfaces like MetaMask, everything that has been built in the Ethereum community so far. With zkEVM, we can just simply leverage that. We're leaving developer and user experience intact, which is very, very important. So all these things together, all these three things make zkEVM the holy grail or the optimal or ideal solution for scaling blockchains. We have been able to deliver this at least 2 to 3 years before it was generally expected to happen. And it's on top of that, the zkEVM that we're delivering today is absolutely practical. So there were concerns with complexity when it comes to that has been always the main concern with zkEVM. Whether it's possible to build, and if it's even possible, whether it can be practical. Will we need a data center to generate these proofs? And today we're incredibly excited, and it's even beyond our expectations, the fact that we are able to run zkEVM prover on commodity AWS instances and pay them $1.9 per hour, which is how much our whole testnet has been costing us. So all in all, this has been a great experience, very exciting journey. And I just want to say just one thing that I really have to say very, very briefly. It has been why we delivered this fast. Apart from great strength of our team and several engineering breakthroughs that the team have made, including very, very transformative concepts like Goldilocks fields, like Starkey, like Plonky 2, and other things. In addition to that, the sense of mission and collaboration that happened within the team was really, truly inspiring. And I believe it's really great that we delivered this zkEVM. We're incredibly proud and excited about this. But along the way, I think we just also got much, much more interconnected, stronger as the team, more convinced about our mission and the fact that we actually can contribute a lot to this industry and hopefully to the world. And yeah, with this, I would just actually hand it over to the actual hero and the person who made his mission to deliver this zkEVM, which is my good friend and co-founder, Jordi Bailina. And thanks everyone again.
Thank you, Mihailo, for those words. Yeah, I'm not the hero. It's like I'm just an engineer, just trying to scale Ethereum. That's what am I. So to start the talk, I would like to start a little bit from the origins. When we finish from Polygon Hermes, when we finished the first version of the rollup payments only rollup with Polygon Hermes, I was in Zug, and at that point, a very good friend, Barry Whitehat, came to my home and he challenged me about the zkEVM. We believe, actually, when the first time he talked me about that, I told him this is impossible. This is impossible to do, but he just insists in thinking in the different pieces. We were just trying to see okay, let's do the exercise. How we can do that, and we were like going to the different challenges, to the different critical points, and we were solving most of them in a very complex way a lot of times, but we had the intuition at that point that things were possible, and we started to dig on that, and there was a moment where most of the big challenges that we had is okay, they are solved at that point, so this could be possible. Okay, and it was at this point that I started first convincing my partners at that point, David and Tony. And well, first here also Barry helped me a lot to convince them, no, this is the future, I think we can do that on that. And then I did a presentation in Paris, just explaining the community how I believe this could be possible. And here started the real, the project. I started not alone, but with a small team from the Hermes team. And there was a crucial moment that was the merge with Polygon. This actually was fundamental because this really allows to put all the resources that we needed to build all this. With this, we just built a team. I just got the best professionals, the best people that I knew that could deliver on that. I convinced them to join this team, to therefore, and together with the people that already was in Hermes, we built what I believe is the best team in the world, the team that can really build that. We started to work hard for a year, and in Paris, 1 year later, we presented it could be a prototype if you want to do the first version. That was a full prover. It was a prover that really worked, terminated. That was okay. This was work. This was last July, and since there, of course, we continue just improving this prover, a lot of optimizations, new things, and in October last year, we launched the public testnet. That was another huge milestone. And since there, mainly we have been working really hard, mainly focused on security, auditing, checking, double checking, doing internal audits, dealing with external audits, and rebuilding parts of the code, cleaning the code, and until we feel comfortable with the code that we have right now. And here is where we are, and we are today at the day, the day that we have been dreaming very much. The day that was that seems like impossible 3 years ago, and it's these magic days where an engineer just put the things in production. It's literally when the things start getting useful for the people. So this is the important point of the launch. Another thing that I want to announce now, and I think that's also very important, is that today we are not only launching, we're also open sourcing all the code. And when I mean open sourcing, is not making available, has been available for the last 6 months, but we are also putting a GPL license and a GPL license to all the repos of the prover. I think this is an important gift for the community, and I'm very proud to announce that. And before finishing, I wanted to share 3 seconds why we were able to build these things so fast. The first is experience that we got in the first rollup. In the Hermes one, this was really, all the learnings that we got from there, they are applied some way to this rollup, to the zkEVM. The second part is architecture. I think that here we did very good decisions in how to design the architecture. We divide the architecture in layers. We have a low layer, which is the cryptography layer, okay, that talks about polynomial commitments, Stark, flonks, and all this recursion about flonks. And this has been an important layer. Another layer is the arithmetization. With this, sometimes it's equivalent we have this symbol of the hardware layer. We call it sometimes the hardware layer. It has nothing to do with hardware, but we call it the hardware layer because it's this low layer, this arithmetization. We built a language for working in this layer. We call this language PIL. And we built a processor on top of this layer, a kind of VM specific processor to execute things as normal processor. And in top of that is the software layer, or we call the ROM layer, which is actually the program that's running on top of this processor. To build this program, we had to build an assembly for this processor, and then the program. That's actually the program that actually emulates the EVM and actually runs the EVM altogether. And all this stack in layers allows us to have different teams working in parallel, each one in one of these layers. And not only that, for example, for auditing, having also different audits running in parallel with different specialized teams working together in there. And this is what allows us to build the things so fast. And the last secret that I want to share, there are many more, but the last secret that I want to share is the team. Here, this amazing team, already mentioned before, but this amazing team that's has been absolutely committed, working day, night, and weekends for the last 2 years because they believe in this project, and learning together, because it's like you create a language and then you need to learn about that language, and then you need to go back and forth, and has been a huge effort. But at the same time, has been also a pleasure. We enjoy it, and it was so. I mean, we had so fun also build that, and these both things together. This has worked. This professionalism of the team, and this enjoying the work that has been done is what allows us to build this product, this Polygon zkEVM so fast. So in order to really do the real launch, we decided to, we decided that the good way to do would be that to invite Vitalik to do the symbolic first transaction of this zkEVM. So I would like to invite Vitalik just to do this transaction. Hello, Vitalik, and thank you very much for accepting this transaction. Let's see if everything works. This is a little bit risky, but, but
yeah, no. Hi, Jordi. It's good to be here. Good to see all of you guys. Okay, I shall, I guess, click present, and then I click on here, and then okay, great. So let's see. Okay, you see my MetaMask 0.01 ETH. I'm connected to the Polygon zkEVM, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so then
you did the bridge before, so that's good.
I did indeed. I did the bridge before. Okay, so then I have to send. What address should I send to? Okay, let's go on Polygon zkEVM. We'll check this most recent transaction, and how about we'll take whoever sent it. So I'm going to send to them, and then send to them 0.005 ETH. Set the gas limit to 6.042, have some more mean value, and then click next. Yes.
Maybe you want to put a message there or something.
Okay. How do I put a message again? I was just I was looking this up, and like GPT told me to like click on advanced options, but I don't see advanced options.
Oh, it's not advanced option. Okay, but just do the normal transaction. That should be fine. And
Okay,
you can share with us the message.
Sure. Okay. Is there so do you know how to like add call data, by the way? Like,
I mean, it's advanced options and show the data somewhere.
Right. But I just like I don't see the advanced options field. That's the thing, right?
I cannot see very good the screen, but that's, let me see.
Here. Oh, there we go. Okay.
Just to show the data, maybe the previous one.
Is the configuration of MetaMask to enable this extra data?
In the configuration. Just go to the configuration of MetaMask.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay, hold on. Can I Control 0 again? Click on Polygon. Hold on. Oh, where do I go for?
Just maybe you need to cancel this and just go to the configuration. And,
there we go. Okay, perfect. So I go to add network, and then I just go back to networks, and then Polygon zkEVM, and then there.
No, that's okay. That's okay. That's which is in general maybe not advanced in the second advanced.
Oh, I see. Okay, advanced cascade rules.
Yeah, show data. You just up. Show data. This one. Just there we go. Yeah, just close this. And just do the transaction again.
Okay, let's see how this works. Okay, we're gonna click send to this address, send to, oh, there we go, 0.005. Okay, set this to a meme number, and then over here, okay, great, I have to create some hex data. Okay, hold on, let me just make the hex data first. Let's see, I need something corny. I'll deliver corny. Okay, is that corny enough for you?
That's perfect.
Okay, amazing. Okay, going back here, send to the 0x7, whoever this is, 0.005. Gas limit has to go to a meme number, and then x data is 0x, whatever this is. No, I want the meme number. Okay, next. And then confirm. Okay, send pending. Amazing.
It should now go forward.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and it says success.
That's good.
Okay.
So maybe you can see the data there. We already showed that. Just show you can show just select show.
There we go.
There we go.
Okay.
So we have the first transaction. We made it.
Okay.
I was not sleeping for that, so that's good. So,
amazing, so happy.
Thank you very much. Yeah. So I think, Grace, we can continue. We have the first transaction there.
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay.
Well, now we have officially launched zkEVM Mainnet Beta, and we love Kearney. We love it.
Mm-hmm.
So now there's a big welcome to our community, to our developers, to our builder. And we just want to say that we're going to share everything that you need to know about Mainnet Beta at 6:30 the Central European time or at 4:30 GMT time. So with that and with this excitement, we will continue with a fireside chat. And we will invite now Vitalik and Jordi to stay in. And no better person to take this fire chat on than Mihailo. Take it on.
Thanks a lot, Grace. I'm not sure that I'm the right person to do this now, given how stressed I was. Super exciting and super fun. And luckily it turned out very well. Hi, everyone. Again, I'm very, very excited and honored to have a very quick chat with two people that I tremendously respect. And I think without further ado, let's go into that, right? So I think maybe we can just start emotionally, if that's fine, then we can switch back to rational conversation. So just tell me, how do you guys feel about what just happened? Just do you have any current emotion that you can maybe share? And what do you think about this event? Is it really an important milestone as we believe? And is it really a gift to the community? Just anything that you can just share about how you feel about
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like very happy and excited for what's to come. It's the whole zkEVM thing is just something that I think we've all dreamed about and talked about for such a long time, and like actually seeing it happen, on mainnet and seeing all of the pieces come together and just work is like just so amazing.
For me, it's okay. It's a strange feeling because and I've been like dreaming for this moment for 2 years. Okay, but at this point, once you get there, and even the days before, I'm more excited for tomorrow and for the day after tomorrow. And what will happen tomorrow and the day after tomorrow? That's that we will plan what we are going to do next and how we are built. And we have a lot of things in the backlog, because in the last 3 months, I mean, we have been working very much in security and not doing like anything new, just checking and checking the code many times and all that. And we have a lot of things to improve and to do it better and so on. So for me, the most exciting of this event is that, okay, we will finish this phase and we will continue building and improving. This is just a milestone. I think it's an important milestone because it's having something that was impossible. Okay, now it's here. It's a zkEVM. It's possible. We can build that, but it's a long path for scaling. We are just starting to scale. This is just the beginning, and now we need to really scale. I mean, really mean making many transactions, going fast, and this is this is, I think, it's why it's an important step because this will really scale. Well, this is we'll start this edge of scaling Ethereum, and we finally will see applications that were not possible because the scaling now make them possible with the security of Ethereum. So that's I think this is a really important moment for the space.
Thanks so much, guys, for sharing this. So, okay, let's switch back to a rational conversation and maybe a little bit more technical. But maybe we can start for the sake. We have more than 10,000 people, I believe, signed up, and hopefully, yeah, that's the info that we got from ETH Global friends, and hopefully a lot of them are newcomers, right? And we want to onboard as many newcomers as possible. So, for their sake and everyone's sake, maybe if you can just recap again, what is the importance of these layer 2 solutions and zkEVM itself? Just briefly in your own words, just for everyone, maybe it's always useful to recap.
Yeah, so I think for almost since Ethereum launched, I've been talking about scaling as one of the most important problems for Ethereum to solve. And I think for me at the beginning, like for the first few years of Ethereum's growth, that was definitely pretty theoretical, right? Like we knew that Ethereum had to scale somehow to be able to serve, future millions of people user base. But like at the time, transactions were cheap for the users that Ethereum has. Ethereum worked fine. But then especially in the last few years and in like the last bull run, like it just became clear how expensive the Ethereum mainnet is, right? Like I remember visiting Argentina and just like seeing how everyone is using a Binance account, right? And like from their perspective, it makes perfect sense because Binance to Binance transfers don't have fees. But at the same time, I think as a crypto ecosystem, we do wants to ultimately move beyond the centralized approaches. And I'm sure even a lot of people in Binance feel that way as well, right? But making something that's decentralized and hard for and easy for and practical for people to use at the same time is just like so much harder than making something centralized and easy to use, right? And then last year we saw the FTX situation, and we just like keep seeing all of these incidents that just remind us, in a very real and practical way, why decentralized access to the chain being possible and being a reality is just so important. Because if you don't have that, then you have this kind of like decentralized on top of decentralized Frankenstein that seems to just like sometimes be even less secure than just doing the whole thing centralized top to bottom, right? And so I think scalability and decentralization at the same time is like this really hugely important thing. And like for the last couple of years, I think the Ethereum ecosystem has been focused on rollups as a primary strategy for scaling, basically just because Ethereum core developer time is limited. The Ethereum network's ability to handle complexity is limited. And so we didn't want to kind of give every responsibility to the layer 1, and we wanted to leave open some room for independent innovation to happen. And So, we have recently had this layer 2 ecosystem start to emerge. And well, I think these days the layer 2 ecosystem has existed for some time, right? But for me, like 2023 in particular is the year when I want to see the layer 2 ecosystem really mature. And for me, like the biggest part of maturity is like layer 2 is becoming actual layer 2s, right? In the sense of like, you don't just have like some, claim that like, oh, we're going to have a proof system in the future. And like, actually we just have a multi-sig. Like, no, you have proofs, right? And, you have a system where your coins in the layer 2 are like actually protected by math instead of being, protected by some, group of like, 5 out of 9 people or whatever the number is, where if they want to, go and grab up your $29 million and enjoy a retirement in some tropical beach country that's not Montenegro, then, you don't really have much defense against that. So it's, seeing, I think, Polygon make so much progress from just in terms of improving its security model over the last couple of years has been truly amazing. And it's something that I look forward to seeing the rest of the layer 2 ecosystem do as well, right? And yeah, I'm just like excited to see, scaling not just be this kind of theoretical thing, but actually be something that Ethereum already has solved in practice.
It's such a great recap. Thank you so much, Vitalik. Over to you, Jordi.
Well, it's the magic of engineering. Engineering's, we are not that theoretical. We are just taking the theory and just bringing to the solve real problems. And when I entered the space, it's just for me it was amazing. But because this you can do so many things, but actually when you want to do the things, you just start discovering the limitations of the space. So but I want to use this because I think it's amazing. So this is what I've been working on. Is what we need to put this amazing technology in people's hands and extend that to that anybody in the world can use it. And well, you see, there are many things, but security, usability, but scaling was fundamental. If you can do just 30 transactions per second, this is not enough. It's not enough for the world, but it's not enough even for a relatively small community. So how do we have to do? And we have been thinking a lot about that. State channels, we think about the plasma. A lot of efforts happens. And when rollups, I remember this blog post from Vitalik, some people just working on, they say there happens, it's like we start seeing the light. And it's like, this is it's a path there, splitting the data availability and the execution apart. And it's a long path, but we just took this path. Ethereum Foundation, I think, is doing a great advance in the data availability and so on. And the ecosystem is also working a lot on these rollups and these layer 2s. And everything is looking that it's a long journey, but everything is looking that we in few years or even month we can have this technology available to the peoples, and that's. I think that's what's about.
Thank you so much, guys. This was really great. Maybe let's go just a little bit deeper, a little bit more technical. And as we see recently, there have been multiple projects that started working on zkEVM, and we at Polygon, and I'm sure Vitalik as well, we're very happy that that's the case. But that introduced the need for a little bit of clarity, ideally, what zkEVM is. Are there some different types of zkEVM? And Vitalik recently introduced and helped a lot on that front by publishing blog posts about 4 different types of zkEVMs. Basically, that way introducing at least some initial nomenclature for this great technology. And I wanted to ask you guys a little bit more about that. If you can chime in, both you, Vitalik and Jordi, first about Polygon zkEVM, where it is, which type of zkEVM it is, what it's going to be in the future, and maybe about the nomenclature itself. Vitalik, if you now from this perspective, would you consider changing anything in the nomenclature, and just generally how you feel about the whole nomenclature? Basically, does it mean, for example, that the type 1 is by default the best solution, or it's not that black and white? Are there some just generally to chat about that a little bit in the context of Polygon zkEVM and in general about nomenclature of zkEVMs?
Maybe Jordi, answer the Polygon question first.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was this blog post about classifying. I think this clarify a lot of things, because at the moment there were a lot of different rollups doing different things, and the marketing people just putting things and bringing, and this clarify a lot, because at the end, from the technical perspective, is what it is, and the things. In the case of the Polygon, we define ourselves as a type 3. I think we fit very good in the type 3. And we are going in the direction to be a type 2. That's a little bit the path that we are. So the idea is to get closer and closer to Ethereum. We want to implement some precompiled smart contracts that are not ready yet. And there are some small details, this new type of transactions. And there are some small details that we want to get closer to that front. We are going in that direction, and I think this is a good equilibrium. The fact that, for example, in our system, the people don't have to reuse the tooling, so they don't have to use a different tooling, so they can reuse all the Ethereum tooling. So you just use Solidity, you just use Remix, or you just use Hard Hat, and you just build and you just connect to Ethereum and you go there. This compatibility is really good for the end user. So I think this is a good compromise for having a lot of users using it.
Yeah, so I guess from my perspective, like the way that I would summarize the type system in like one sentence is basically that the lower the number of the type is, the closer it is to basically being an exact copy of Ethereum ZVM. And the higher the number of the type is, the further away from that it is. But the reason why you might want to do a higher type EVM is because either it's easier to develop, or because if you do some things that are a bit different from the EVM, then you can get some efficiency benefits that you can't do otherwise, right? So like the difference between type 1 and type 2, for example, is type 1 requires like perfect compatibility to the point where you can verify Ethereum's existing execution layer. And that involves some like fairly snark unfriendly things, like potentially verifying a huge amount of Ketchak, right? And if you want, you could go and like replace Ketchak with some more snark friendly hash function, right? And that's something that's possible, but is the correct thing to do for layer 2s today. And like 5 years from now, probably will be even the correct thing to do for the layer 1. But it does mean that today you're not going to be the same as layer 1 anymore, right? So I think like my view of what the ideal is I think the ideal for a zkEVM implementation is for it to be configurable and support all the types, right? Like I think an ideal zkEVM would have settings so that if you want, you can turn it on to run with a Ketchak Merkle Patricia tree, and that it can verify Ethereum blocks, or you can set it to run with some more ZK optimized stuff, and it'll be more efficient for you. It'll have like might even have different precompiles, and depending on what you want, and you'd be able to kind of choose to what extent you want compatibility and to what extent you want efficiency, and like that could be that should be more of a project by project choice. And I think it should be possible to make zkEVM implementations that kind of like make it possible to hit all sides of that. And I feel like it probably shouldn't be too hard to do that if you're like starting from the higher types and moving toward the lower types, right? Because you had your previous code anyway, right? So you just kind of make it open either way.
Thanks a lot.
One of the things that I want to add here is I did myself the exercise to say, okay, you get all this technology, because when you're doing this zkEVM, you learn a lot, and it's a challenge every week. And it's like, okay, with this technology, if you want to do, okay, forget about being Ethereum compatible, and let's try to do an efficient rollup. And let's see how we would do it. The interesting thing is that I would not change many things. The way that we were able to optimize, there are things that probably, yes, I know there are things like memory alignment, and there are things that are a little bit tricky in Ethereum, and probably I would remove some of these pieces, but not that many. The way that we are computing, for example, arithmetics in different prime field, the way that we are computing ketchups, the way that we're computing hash functions, the way that we are working with the storage, the way that we are executing the programs, and it could be some differences, but it should not be. It's much less that you may think when you start. And that's because the rate of optimization that we get just and being compatible. So for us, the requirement is okay. We want to be Ethereum compatible. So that's the specification. So let's see what we can do on that. And we learn that much in this process so we come up to some really good tricks and really good algorithms that this is even better than if we were doing something different to that. So that's a little bit the conclusions that we're getting there. Of course, there are things, it's a spectrum of things, and we should go like piece by piece, but in many pieces you should not be very different.
Thanks a lot, guys. I would have so many questions in addition to this, but maybe let's just touch on one, and then we can slowly wrap it up because we have to adhere to the schedule, I guess. We are very happy that we deliver this, right? And we believe we are generally mainnet ready, right? We have multiple external audits, multiple internal audits. We have testnet that has been running for months, and all of that. But still, it's very important to say that this is very complex technology. This is new technology that hasn't been delivered before, and it's important to be responsible, right? With that in mind, Vitalik published another blog post very recently where he speaks about proposed basically milestones for zkEVM rollups or rollups in general when it comes to introducing or slowly removing some sort of training wheels and security measures. So I know we have a basically security focused panel in a while, but if you can just one sentence maybe share your thoughts also about maybe this Vitalik's proposed roadmap or model, and just anything in general about zkEVM when it comes to this responsible.
Sure. So I think that blog Magician's post was also motivated by just like seeing this kind of confusion and definitely this kind of like weird marketing situation where there are a lot of different projects in this space that call themselves layer 2s, and they're like, people don't really understand like what actually makes a layer 2 a layer 2, what makes it not a layer 2, what makes a layer 2 decentralized, and like and all of these things, right? And the goal of the post was basically to kind of help people sort of like zero in on like the thing that matters, which is security, right? And the thing that matters in security, which is basically this kind of complicated trade-off of when do you put more trust in the people, and when do you put more trust in the code, right? And it's like a complicated trade-off to navigate, especially because we're dealing with this fairly young technology that inevitably has bugs and probably is going to continue to have bugs for some time. But basically, the challenge is like, on the one hand, we want to actually start moving away from just systems that claim to be layer 2s, but actually just like require completely trusting some small committee, right? Like, we don't actually want a system where a 4 of 7 multisig can run off with $29 million and have a vacation in a tropical island country. But at the same time, like, we want to try to do it responsibly. And if you kind of, on day one, just to get ahead of everyone else, push out a release and say, okay, guys, code is law. And then, people throw in $29 billion, and then it turns out that there's a bug, then like, that's pretty bad too, right? So I think what I tried to do was kind of structure things and identify a couple of middle grounds, right? So the three stages that I identified are, well, I call them stage 0, stage 1, and stage 2. And stage 0 is basically like full trust the people, right? So basically something that has kind of like the scaffolding of a rollup, and you can submit transactions, you have backup channels, you have all of these things. But at the same time, there is some kind of override mechanism, and like ultimately the override mechanism can decide where the money goes with a 51% threshold, right? So it's like a full training wheels thing. Stage 2 basically says you're fully running on the code. Now, there is like kind of one nuance that I did kind of allow in the stage 2 definition, which is that what you can do is have a mechanism where if someone can prove that the code disagrees with itself, then you can flip an emergency switch and let humans come in, right? But and like code disagreeing with itself could happen in two different ways, right? Like you could have two different zkEVMs, you could have one zkEVM, and the switch would be like if someone can successfully prove two different state roots for the same data. Like there's lots of different ways to do this. Or on the other side, if no one submits a valid thing for an entire week, right? That would also suggest that something is broken. But otherwise, like if the code is the idea would be that if the code is running correctly, the humans have no ability to override the code, right? And like that's a long-term goal, but that like requires being like pretty confident in the code and the code's ability to not have like certain kinds of really serious bugs. Stage 1 is this kind of middle ground, right? Where basically it's kind of like halfway in between, right? Where for stage 0, you need 51% of the humans to override and move money to wherever they want. For stage 2, you need 101% of the humans, right? 101% greater than 100%, so you can't do it. And then for stage 1, you need 75% of the humans. So the thing that I suggested was at least 6 of 8 where there's enough people in that multi-sig that are outside of the organization so that the organization by itself can't just go and move the funds wherever it wants to. And with this kind of threshold, like you still have the ability to intervene if things really go wrong, right? And like I've been in multi-sigs a lot, right? And like if really serious stuff happens, then like generally you pretty quickly can get almost anyone, right? It's like almost everyone, especially if they're professionals. But at the same time, it's like getting to some like it's much harder for 75% of people to collude and decide to go to a tropical island than it is for 50%, right? So it's this kind of middle. And my goal for 2023 has been that like I want the layer 2 ecosystem to basically move to at least the equivalent of stage 1. And I think it's okay to stay in stage 1 for a pretty long time, right? Because I think, we do want to be confident that the technology works before we put even more trust in it. But like, if you don't have, like if you're in stage 0, then you're basically not like really giving any decision-making power to the code at all, right? And like, it doesn't really matter if you're a ZK rollup or an optimistic rollup or what kind of rollup. Ultimately, you're just a multi-sig controlled by the Security Council. So in stage 1, you're basically saying, okay, well, we have an actual proof system and the proof system has actual power, but we don't necessarily quite give it all the power. And, if there is room for some Security Council, if there is like strong agreement inside it to override what the proof system says in case of a bug. So I think like stage 1 is this nice middle ground where, we're not just talking about these very centralized things that we've had so far. We're talking about like actual proof systems, whether they're optimistic or ZK, that have teeth and that actually have like a strong influence in what happens on chain. But at the same time, we leave some room for error and we don't kind of trust things fully. And like this is something that I think should be achievable for both at least many both zkEVM and optimistic EVM projects this year, right? Like I've also talked to a couple other ones, and like I know Arbitrum, for example, they want to like open up their proof system really soon, and I think they have some Security Council parameters that are like even more stringent than what the stage 1 requirements are. So I would love to see Polygon really join the stage 1 camp soon as well, and really kind of set the standard for like, hey, you have to have an actual proof system. The proof system has to actually run, and the proof system has to actually have some teeth, but like still in a way where we still have we're not kind of like turning the trust over from 0 to 100% from day one, and we can be a bit careful and still kind of scoot for a couple of years while we make sure that everything really is completely safe, and then we keep going forward from there.
Just to mention here that in Polygon ZkEVM is it's a stage 1. Actually, we changed the multi-sig this morning in 6 out of 8. It was 4 out of 7, and this morning we changed it to 6 out of 8 just to be on the stage. But we are the cool thing is that we are quite prepared, at least from the code perspective, to be a stage 2. Actually, we could be a stage 2 if you want. Of course, we don't want to be because until we feel safe. We want at least. But what are the pieces? The pieces that we are missing to be a stage 2 is, well, first of all, we need to enable the forced transactions. We will probably enable in a few weeks, because this is an important mechanism, and this is something that. We disabled in the last minute for some issues, but we will enable in 2-3 weeks probably. There is another thing is removing this kill switch. This is probably the hardest part, because we need to feel comfortable that the security is there. So this will probably stay. We are setting that we want to be running the system at least 6 months without finding any critical issue, at least. So that's we will take a little bit while on that. And the other is the time lock for the upgradability. Right now is 10 days, and we need to increase that to 30 days in order to be stage 2. But this is so. The plan is there, and it's more about getting comfortability of the code, and we will continue running, bug bounties and audits and probably some upgrades in there. So we'll stay here for a while.
Yeah. No, I definitely really appreciate the commitment to security, and I'm I'm so happy that we finally have a layer 2 with teeth are running on mainnet now. So big congratulations there.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, both again. If I can just share my humble opinion, I totally agree. As we saw, as Jordi said, Polygon ZkEVM is formally, I guess, type 1. Stage 1 when it comes to these three wheels. And I totally agree that this targeting basically stage 1 for 2023, as you said, Vitalik, is the wisest, the optimal and responsible approach, because we really want to transition to full safety gradually, right, and full permissionless solutions. Great, this has been a fantastic discussion. Thank you guys so much. And just if you have any closing messages or anything that you would like to share with the community, any sort of message or advice or anything, and then we can slowly wrap it up.
My site is just to give a try. It's a network, a new network there. It's a zkEVM there. So if you are a developer, if you are a user, and just make a try and see how simple it is just to build on top of the Polygon ZkEVM.
Yeah, I have tried sending 2 transactions, and it's been pretty easy so far. Do recommend.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Grace, please take it over.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much. And it was an insightful chat. And after all, Mihailo, you did make a balance between the rational and the irrational there.
Yeah,
so that was a good.
Myself. It's important that I understand myself through the demo.
It came out absolutely perfectly balanced. And as far as Jordi, I know that we can check a fire chat with Vitalik out of your bucket list. That's definitely something that we can check it out. So now, now that we had this fireside chat, it's a good segue on where we're going next. So we have 2 amazing panels that are coming up. This particular one is about building trustless scaling solutions. So I think there's going to be a very engaging conversation around security, around auditing, around tooling, around what decentralization means, and so on. So we will invite Brendan. Okay, yes, please, Jordi and Vitalik stays with us. Brendan is our moderator. Hi, Brendan, welcome. And I was going to introduce everyone in the panel, but I think you should do this one. So I'll let you in and get started. I think we're missing a person. We're missing Bahid from Hexens. And Alex is there. Okay. I wonder what happened. Anyway, I'll let you continue then.
Cool. We'll take it away. So the focus of this panel is going to be on building trustless scaling solutions, particularly around security and auditing. I think, I guess for those of us who are new to the event, Alex, Daniel, Barry, would you like to briefly introduce yourselves? I guess Alex, starting with Alex.
Yeah, sure. I hope you can hear me now.
Yep.
Yeah, I spent a significant number of years on EVM research, mostly at the Ethereum Foundation. And, regarding Polygon zkEVM, at Spearbit, we assembled a number of different teams to conduct review, and I've been participating on the EVM side, mostly on EVM compatibility questions, how the zkEVM would compare to mainnet, and if there's any differences, what kind of risks those could pose to, on multiple facets, including languages. Yeah, I think that's like a short intro.
Cool. Daniel, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. Daniel from Polygon Zero. So we work on a separate zkEVM, which is focused on type 1 compatibility, and also working on related technology like Plonky 2 and now Plonky 3.
Cool. And I guess I also work with Daniel, and then last but definitely not least, Barry. Do you want to briefly introduce yourself?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm Barry. I work on a whole bunch of like ZK things, and including I had a lot of fun working with Jordi on the early stage zkEVM stuff. So I'm happy to be here today and chat about all this.
Cool. Well, I think we can just jump into it. I think it's safe to say, Jordi, from conversations that we've had, that security is. Oh, yeah, Chris.
Yes, I'm sorry, but we do have Bahid now.
Okay. Bahid, do you want to?
Everyone is there now.
Bahid, do you want to introduce yourself? All right. Yeah. So I think it's safe to say, Jordi, from conversations that we've had internally at Polygon, that security has sort of been the guiding principle of the development of the zkEVM. And so I wonder if you could just talk at a super high level about the philosophy and the perspective around security and auditing and sort of building a system that fundamentally protects user funds. So we'd love to hear that.
Yeah, there has been probably it has been the biggest challenge of the full system, because these systems are really complex, and there is a lot of new pieces that are built on top that are built for this. So one single piece that goes wrong, and the system is just insecure, and this is really, this is really problematic, and this has been difficult here. When we faced security, it has been just trying to isolate the things that can go wrong, and just trying to find the right mitigations for the things that that can go wrong. So in the case of Polygon, we just distinguish like four things that can go wrong. One is smart contracts. We know very much about what can go wrong in smart contract, and this is one type of things. The other is the correctness This is really bad. If the correctness of the proof, I mean, you are proving something that's correct, but this correctness goes to that some balance is wrong. This is really bad, and we cannot do much about that. The good things on this point is that because it's Ethereum compatible, we just leverage on top. So we just run all the Ethereum tests, so we are passing all the relevant Ethereum tests there. There's more than thousands of tests there. This gives us a good confidentiality that there are no correctness errors, or at least it's difficult to get the correctness errors because all the tests are passing, so everything is working as it's supposed to be. This is not exactly so. There are some exceptions, and there are things that can go wrong, and we find something at some point about that, and we will be very decision on that. That's really difficult on that. The one that's really easy is the soundness error. Soundness error in the prover is just forgetting some constraint. This is really easy, and this is what what can go wrong. And here the mitigation was proposed by Vitalik at some point. And there's two mitigations. The first is that if you are running if you have a priority prover, so if you are running the proofs, you are not going to prove something that's wrong. So this is difficult, but the prover may stop, or if you want to have a decentralized system, you need anybody to run a prover. And here is where maybe if two provers go from the same state with the same transactions to different states, then you can detect that automatically in the smart contract and help the system. And these two mitigations are good for this soundness, which is really easy to have a mistake. And the fourth one is more technical, but it's like that you just stop, the prover just gets stopped, and because you cannot generate the proof. But this is just, the mitigation is very easy because the system just stops, and in 7 days in the timeout, you just upgrade the system and you continue. So here, so this is how the things, and that's why we feel comfortable for launching. But again, security is, you never have the 100% security that the system is correct.
Right. So we sort of have this framework where errors can be either correctness, soundness errors in the prover, and then smart contract bugs. Is that sort of safe to say in the proof?
Yeah, and then the other is that the prover, that you are not able to generate the proof, which is
okay. So liveness issues. Okay. So given that framework, I guess it would be really interesting to hear from Alex, and then Vahe. We didn't get a chance to hear your intro, so if you could provide that. But just like what the experience has been auditing different parts of the system, sort of within that framework of different errors. Like how do you approach auditing for correctness? How do you approach auditing for prover soundness? So it'd be cool to sort of hear your perspective.
Yeah, thank you, Brendan. And sorry, guys, I had some issues with the video, so I skipped the intro. So I'm the CTO and co-founder of Hexens. We did the audit for the zkEVM. So about the question, I would say that with the soundness, I wouldn't say that there is a lot of things different than testing for completeness and soundness. I would say that it's about the approach that you take in auditing the different layers of the zkEVM, because basically it has like, we can call it like hardware layer, firmware layer, and application layer. And one thing that we're trying to do is that when further we go down into the layers, for example, when we were auditing like hardware layer, we're trying to use also some toolings there, because like static analysis and like dynamic analysis, trying to write like a small tools, some toolings that will help us out, because basically that's where almost everything is connected with some edge cases, and like the bigger the coverage, the better. And you have a lot of, for example, auditing peel state machines, you have a lot of constraints and a lot of assumptions. It's hard to just remember all of them sometimes. So yeah, it's better to use some toolings in that kind of situations. And also like the manual review. It's always the manual review for every layer that you do. I mean, you sometimes you cannot find edge cases that will be found programmatically. You just need to watch them. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say a single word answer to the question. What did it felt like? It felt like scary, extremely scary getting into it. Because the zkEVM team has built a number of languages, a lot of tooling, a lot of different parts, and they were also constantly improving the system and conducting an internal review. But they were super helpful in setting up trainings, training workshops, and being available to answer any kind of questions when looking at any of the different layers. I think what has been challenging, of course, is the different layers, what kind of understanding and knowledge and background those different layers required, and then the connection between the layers. I think generally it has been, initially it was extremely scary, but as you get into it, you build up confidence, and especially the fact that Polygon zkEVM is able to execute most of the Ethereum state tests. That was a reassuring fact, and there was in fact a good starting point to dig deeper and see why any of those test cases would have been disabled. There could have been a number of reasons, mostly because the test cases required gas higher than what the prover would support. So even just investigating from that level down, it is possible to find a number of different issues. But I think generally we had a number of different teams looking at the different parts. The state machines have been looked in isolation. The EVM instructions have been looked in isolation, and then there is a stage where you try to connect these dots together. I think tooling is we did try to invent some tooling, especially for the peel layer. But I think given how nascent this technology is, there's just not enough tooling. What I've seen to be somewhat useful is pattern matching. And once you identified a given issue, which may look like something you want to investigate further, I think some of those patterns were emerging in multiple parts. So yeah, I think pattern matching is when you look at such nascent technology, that's more useful than trying to invent complex tooling.
Cool. That makes a lot of sense.
I also want to add that I definitely share the sense of scare. That's the thing. Yeah, I was just trying to be more pragmatic on the answer, but yeah, sure. Yeah, about the tooling part, also was a lot of pattern matching, like variant analysis thing. Of course, yeah. I mean, creating complex tooling here might be hard and an overkill rather than using variant analysis techniques.
Cool, makes sense. So Barry, we already heard that your conversations with Jordi sort of served as the genesis for this entire project, and you guys are longtime friends. I'm really curious to hear from both you and Vitalik sort of how the EF sees its role as shepherding and stewarding these protocols and projects into maturity and into production, and particularly in the context of security and audits.
Sure. Thank you, Brendan. So yeah, the way I think about this is that there's a lot of different layer 2s that are sort of working to scale Ethereum. And one thing that I would really like to see on the security dimension is more collaboration between the different layer 2s. I feel like a very nice security parameter we could have is if we had a ZK rollup that also had a fraud proof. And a fraud proof was just the fraud proof was one of the members of the Security Council, for example. And if the fraud proof disagreed with the ZKP, then we would have to fall back to the Security Council to decide and break the tie. I think that this is a very nice kind of underrated feature where we have all these teams working independently, but I would like to see eventually everyone sort of joining forces and working together. Because at the end of the day, you get a lot more security by having a roll-up with a fraud proof and a validity proof.
Cool. And then Vitalik, it would just be really cool to get your
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, in development of all of these new technologies. Like the Ethereum Foundation tries its best to play a supporting role, and at the same time, try to avoid picking winners in the kind of project and application space, and try to support projects that kind of uplift the entire ecosystem, and kind of play those more kind of like supportive tasks that are valuable things across the entire ecosystem that are more kind of coordination related, that would make much less sense for each individual team to do on its own and so forth. Sometimes that has meant writing and contributing to specific pieces of code, though I think even there, we've been striving to not have the foundation dominate that, and bring in contributions from other layer 2 teams and some other teams. Sometimes that involves being supportive on the security and auditing side. Sometimes that supports other things, but generally, trying to kind of foreground the people, in the ecosystem that are doing all of the amazing work as much as possible.
Cool, very cool. And so, Daniel, it would be really interesting to hear from your perspective, being internal to Polygon, how sort of the culture of collaboration around security and auditing actually functions. I know that you were one of the participants on the internal audit of Flonk. So yeah, it would be great to get your perspective.
Yeah, it's been a really nice collaboration between Polygon Zero, Hermes, and the Mighten team. So together we're sort of the ZK side of Polygon. So my involvement in Hermes zkEVM was fairly small, but yeah, one thing I was able to do was help to do an internal audit of the Flonk code, which was very, very interesting to learn about and see how they were doing things. And I'd say we just had a lot of really good discussions with these internal teams about what the right approach is, especially when it comes to sort of training wheels or backup layers of security. What sort of backup layers can we come up with to make sure that, worst case, if there is a soundness bug, then we have some kind of fallback option, and it's not just game over.
Yeah, cool. And so back to Jordi, it would be really interesting to hear about your sort of perspective on the roadmap for what training wheels we have now, like what the process of taking them off will look like, and sort of like the end state that you'd like to get to.
Yeah, well, first of all, let me point one thing that just to answer a little bit Barry here, and is that all the audits are public. I don't know if the last ones maybe are in a draft mode, but if they are not public now, they will be public tomorrow. You can check that in the repos. So all the repos, they have a directory with the audits, and I mean, it's full transparency here. I would recommend all the rollups, especially the ZK rollups in the space, to read those audits, because as the people say here, that there is a lot of patterns, a lot of things that were discovered, and you can learn a lot just reviewing those audits. And I think it's gold for the security in there. And of course, we are absolutely open. I mean, I think collaboration is key in here. I mean, sharing and being transparent in these audits, I think, is the one step in that direction. For the future, we just started, I think it was last Friday, a bug bounty program. I think that continuous auditing is fundamental for here. We will continue to, we plan some upgrades, as I mentioned, just including this pre-compiled smart contract. So this will be complemented with some audits, and we probably will do some re-audits of some of the parts. So we already have identified some of the pieces that maybe should be more checked more closely, or that just talking with different auditors, we have a good feedback of what are the more dark zones and clear zones, and what are the concerns, and we are sharing a lot this feeling with the different teams. And security is just invest as much as you can and put as much effort as you can. Never is going to be enough. So here is Polygon. We have a full team, full security team, just working in that direction. We have a full budget in security, and it's a huge commitment in there. And the worst thing is that you never have this confidence, but that doesn't mean that you don't have to invest as much as you can.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Yeah, I guess it would be interesting to hear about like where this space can sort of go, because I know that we've invested a lot of time in developing tooling for PIL and ZK assembly, and I wonder, like in the future, do you feel like the burden of auditing will be reduced as we build more tooling? Like, how do we get to sort of a state where we can do more kind of rapid development without as much of a burden on auditing? Do you think that that's possible? Just be interested to get your perspective.
Yeah, I think that toolings are something that needs to be done. I mean, it will never interchange the audit, the review from people, at least in the foreseen future, I think. But the toolings is a must-have in any case. So because it will help, it will shorten the time of the reviews. It will help a lot of ways. Like, for example, if you can fuzz something, it helps a lot with in exception than just going through by hands and doing everything manually. But it will never interchange the audit itself, I think. Now, maybe not never, but like as I say, in the near future.
Yeah, it seems safe to say that formal verification for zkEVM is still pretty far away, right? Alex,
maybe not.
maybe not. Alex, anything to add on tooling and sort of automating certain parts of the audit?
Yeah, I think certainly, I mean, the tools we have created were more about transforming PIL to be more readable in certain aspects, and then maybe being able to create some proofs for certain properties. We did initially, in the first engagement, we did try to do that, and you can see some of the results of that in the first report. And this tool is called PIL Spectre, and later we learned that actually Polygon also has a similar inspection tool with a web interface. But regarding, more rapid development, I think what we found generally is, the separation of PIL and zkEVM may have proved to be a tiny bit of a bottleneck, at least for us, because you have two disjoint systems, which then are connected through various paths. And we kind of felt that maybe if there would be, a language in between the two, so you wouldn't have like two separate systems, maybe that would have helped, but it's really hard to tell, at this point. And then I think the other tools which would be useful is more like, IDE plugins to help you navigate the system much better. So one example in zkEVM, the syntax itself, it took, a bit of time to get used to. And as you have generally a lot of utilities, just jumping to utilities and seeing what kind of constraints or registers they clobber, that is like a big question, right? It is really basically like what assembly is with calling conventions, where you have to be aware what kind of pieces could be overwritten, what pieces are saved. And I think some kind of an IDE extension to help navigate these could definitely improve the review process. And then also had to actually generate some of this code. The arithmetic state machine seemed to have been generated, by a different piece of code. And if you have such pieces where you can generate the PIL code or the zkEVM code, and you can be, certain that the generator is correct, maybe it is possible to formally verify the generator. that is something which could also reduce the time, to review. But as it stands today, I think the really big saving grace is the testing suite. But unfortunately, as you see over time in mainnet, no matter how many tests you have, there are always going to be edge cases found. Especially if you look at the precompiles, those are like hotspot for issues. And more complex call-related instructions. I mean, one big one in the past has been return data. And I think these pieces may be even more complicated in zkEVM, just the way memory and any of these constraints are handled. So yeah, I would definitely welcome a lot of tooling, and I think over time we may get closer to have more velocity in reviewing this, but I don't think manual review will ever really stop in any of these systems, because you need to have a holistic view and some intuition into something which may not be a pattern.
Cool. That makes sense. I'm curious, Jordi, about the sort of the upgrade path for zkEVM. So suppose that the EVM on L1 introduces new EIPs, or for some reason we want to change like the hash function in the state tree. How do you see that functioning? I actually, Daniel, if we could also get your perspective on this as well, that would be great. But starting with Jordi, what sort of do you see the optimal path being sort of upgrade in place with a multi-sig? Is it migrating to a new rollup? Like what's sort of the optimal path there?
We are Ethereum compatible. So the idea is, at least what's in the idea is to be just upgrade in place. So I mean, just doing some upgrades. Of course, there are some pieces that could be a little bit complex. For example, imagine that you want to upgrade the hash function. Okay, then maybe that would be just a full restate of the system. You can do a proof of state transition. Actually, with aggregation, we can actually build that, but I think this may be long. So here we need to see case by case and see what kind of upgrade we do. But most of the upgrades that we have planned, at least in the short run, are going to be just adding functionality or maybe just adjusting some compatibility issues in the EVM. So at least for a while, it's going to be that way. So the idea is to be as close as possible to Ethereum. So it's just transiting from type 3 to type 2. Ideally, in a year, we should be a type 2 rollup if everything goes okay.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Daniel, anything to add on upgrading rollups?
Yeah, I think most upgrades are fairly straightforward because, well, the ones that would be difficult would be ones that touch state, and like changing the hash function, for example, would be more complicated migration, but others would be fairly easy. And I think it shouldn't be that much work to keep up with changes to Ethereum because, for good reason, they happen very slowly. Yeah, on our side, we've implemented some things already, like BLS, which is not actually, it's still a EIP. It hasn't fully landed yet, but we just have it ready for if or when that happens. Yeah, but overall, I don't think upgrades will be a big deal unless we need to do something like change the hash function.
Cool. And then I'd like to go off script a little bit and ask. I'm actually very curious on Vitalik's perspective on this. To what extent do you think that it's important for Ethereum to eventually be sort of succinctly verifiable? And obviously, we're talking about incorporating EIPs L1 and L2. Like, to what extent do you think that the future design of the Ethereum L1 should sort of take into account like ZK friendliness, and so that we get to the point that we might eventually be able to converge?
I think that's crucially important. I mean, I think, like I've been talking a lot about the importance of preserving and improving upon the decentralization of the Ethereum network. And I think in the long term, a really important part of the decentralization of the network is going to be just everyone being able to really easily verify the rules of the chain, right? Like I've talked about how like I think it should be possible to stake not even just on a laptop, but on a phone. And for something like that to be a reality, like phones are very good at bandwidth, right? But they're very bad at computation. And so, you basically are going to have to, use something like a Snark or a Stark to replace the computation of verifying an Ethereum block with something much simpler. And the nice thing is that, like, especially with things like PBS and the various stuff that's coming down the MEV pipeline, the computational load of running a node actually should be pretty low. Like it literally should be possible to make it literally just be verifying once, like downloading a bunch of data, hashing it, and verifying a Snark. And like that is like to me definitely a dream long-term future for Ethereum. Like actually, if you look at the roadmap, like picture that I published on Twitter, I think at the end of last year, like in The Verge, after the Verkle trees, the Verge is no longer just about Verkle trees. The Verge is now about verification. And I added in a section where kind of the ultimate goal basically is reducing the cost of verifying the chain down to verifying one proof. So I would absolutely love it if the layer 1 could eventually make its way over to satisfying that goal over the next 5 or 10 years.
Oh, amazing! That's cool. My cell phone is often dead, so I'm sort of terrified of the inactivity penalty if I were to stake from my phone. But I'm sure for more responsible people that would be a very workable model. Well, cool. I think this has been a really.
I mean, I have 2 old phones with me that I'm no longer using, so like I just like put one of those up for staking and leave it at. That's
cool. This panel has been really interesting, really fun. I guess I think we're right at time, but I guess Jordi, do you want to leave us with a closing thought about security auditing zkEVM and putting it in production?
I would say that especially for the users, just be responsible. I mean, it's a new thing. I mean, there is many things that can go wrong. So we need to find, we need to be responsible. Of course, we want this to use and we want this to happen. Security is also about people using, and this is how the things get stronger, just having this maturity on the things. But at the same time, we need to understand, and here, so it's important to put the effort to explain to the people that this is a very new technology, that's a very nice technology, it's a very good technology, it's probably the technology of the future, but it's just get bored. So do not go crazy and understand that we are in the early days of this technology and take in account that. Don't put the money, you don't put all the savings and start asking for mortgage and putting the money there. So just things like that.
Cool. Well, Grace, over to you.
Well, yes. Well, thank you very much. I thank you all the panelists for this great panel. And also just wanted to say that we encourage collaboration, and I'm happy that Barry actually mentioned that between the zkEVM rollups. Now we leave Brendan and Vitalik in this panel. We bring in Hudson, who's going to moderate the next panel. There you are. I just wanted to give a little parenthesis here that I wanted to thank the auditors that were in the previous panel, and to also remind people that we have already published all the audit results, and we have them available in our repository. So encouraging people to come and take a look at those audit results. And this panel, I think it's probably one of my favorite ones. We're talking about evolving the ZK stack, but more on the ethos side, the Web3. And here, I wish I could be part of this panel. Open source development, decentralization, all the stuff that we love and we keep here. So, Hudson, I leave you with your panel.
Thank you so much,
Enjoy.
Grace. Yes. So hi, everyone. I'm Hudson. I work at Polygon Labs, and generally I'm an Ethereum rascal on Twitter. Today we have a great set of panelists. So many of them have already been introduced, but I'll go through the people who haven't been introduced. So Mahalo, we know that guy. Vitalik has stopped working on his masternode to sneak into this call. We'll accept him. We got David. What's your story? Just like a sentence or two.
Thanks, Hudson. Well, I'm one of the co-founders of Polygon zkEVM, and I am basically leading the project and product side for a long time. So super excited about this launch. Absolutely.
Awesome. And Bobbin?
Yeah, hi. I'm lead of the Polygon Mainnet project, which is another ZK-focused project within Polygon.
Wonderful. And Anthony?
Okay. Last but not least, my name is Antoni. I am also one of the co-founders of Polygon zkEVM. And in my case, I'm more focused on the operations and the design.
Gotcha. All right. This is going to be a really good panel because I looked over the questions and I made tweaks to make this more interesting a little bit. So let's get started with the first one. So Mahalo, earlier this year, the Polygon teams got together to align on a common product vision. That was just, I saw the post on Twitter where it showed everybody sitting at a table. Would you like to share the vision of us with the Polygon ZK vision and where we are in the journey and where we're striving to go, especially for the fact that, when I talk to people about Polygon, sometimes they're like, yeah, Polygon's that thing with all the chains. So let us know what's going on.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Hudson. It's a great one and very important one, of course. When we announced our strong commitment and strategic bet, if you will, on ZK roughly a year and a half ago, we were very much aware of the fact that this is number one, this is very early stage of this industry. And number two, we're trying to build something which is highly complex, which has never built before. And we didn't want to be opinionated from the beginning. Hence why we joined hands with all these great people, and we have until this very day 3 formally independent teams: Polygon Zero, Polygon Hermes, and Polygon Mainnet, working under this wider Polygon umbrella, if you will. We have never regretted this choice. Actually, the opposite. Like the plurality, differences in ideas, in approaches, in technologies, primitives that these teams have been using and have expertise in, has significantly contributed to this milestone that we are shipping today, and it made Polygon zkEVM much more performant and enabled us to ship it years basically before people expected. So this approach has one negative side, probably, is that some people are confused in the wider community, right? Like, why does Polygon has these 3 approaches? What's going on here? But realistically and practically, this is one very strong, very coherent team with just different expertises and different approaches. But the team has been working very strong together, and it has been a pleasure really participating in the process. That being said, the vision of Polygon when it comes to ZK is to establish this infinitely scalable, secure computation layer built on top of Ethereum. So there will be a multitude of chains. There will be even application-specific chains like supernets that are part of our product suite, if you will. The thing is, these all chains should be observed one day and should be tightly coupled, seamlessly interconnected to form one single, infinitely scalable, secure computation layer on top of Polygon. And that is our vision with ZK, and we're, I think, progressing pretty well on that part. Now we already delivered basically Polygon zkEVM. We are working on other interesting technologies to expand Ethereum beyond just scalability. And we actually have the first formal proposal or implementation to interconnect all these chains. That's something that we call the LXLY bridge that should actually enable exactly what I mentioned, turning these chains into one single execution layer on top of Ethereum. So yeah, hopefully this is helpful.
Absolutely. Great answer. So David, this one is about open source. So open source has always been a priority at Polygon. I've seen that the last few years as I've been an advisor and now an employee. So when you all shared the zkEVM repos last July at EthCC, how is that an important step, and where are we today with open source? And just to add a little bit of spiciness, what's been the hardest part of that? Because I swear every time I get into a discussion about open source licenses, there's like 30 to choose from. So basically, where have we been? Where are we now? And why did we choose this kind? Why is it hard?
Yeah, thanks. Well, yes, it's a very hot topic, to be honest, because there's, this kind of tension between making this as a contribution and becoming, some project that's creating value for the whole community. In fact, ourselves as a project, we have been benefiting a lot from other teams' innovation and contributions. So we feel it's fair for us also to provide this to the community. In fact, the discussion about licensing is the second topic, which is do we do this permissive license or we do GPL? Because in the end, we want to make sure that all this effort we did is useful for everyone. We can just provide this source code as something where community can just innovate, iterate, develop, and we will be very happy if the innovations of other teams will be also available for the future and for other contributions on other projects. So for us, it's the decision on license was to just provide GPL as the prover GPL. Let's say the main components of the zkEVM, you will find them in the repositories today with Affero GPL version 3. But there are other tooling, like the George explained, these tools to create this arithmetization, the PIL. All these languages are in a permissive license, MIT Apache 2. So anyone can just use these tools to build anything with a different, no commitment on license, and to the application they prefer more convenient, even if it's for private uses. So we want to, do this contribution. This is, we feel very, very proud and very happy to finalize the project. But the second one is to, do this openness of the contribution we did so far. And we'll continue working like that because, as Jordi was saying, this is only the beginning of the project. So we'll continue in the open and in this open source license contribution. You're muted, Hassan.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I do this every time I do a presentation. Okay, anyways, thank you for that. And hello, Vitalik. The next question is to you. So like you mentioned earlier about stage one of kind of a roll-up strategy in your brain, and to progressively kind of give up centralization, control, other mechanisms that might, stop the progression of a roll-up from being as powerful as it could be in the hands of the users. So is there anything that like a lot of the ecosystem is minimizing or overlooking when it comes to this process, the transparency involved? Any hot takes that like everyone's going to disagree with you on how to do it?
I mean, I feel like everyone agrees in theory. The bigger bottleneck is like in practice, right? Like it feels to me like everyone is on board with the idea that like, well, of course, rollups should ultimately, have proof systems that have teeth and be secured by them and move away from relying on multisigs and all of this stuff. But like in practice, there are a lot of projects that claim to be very close to that, but are actually much further away from that. And some there's different degrees of I guess egregiousness of this sort of thing, and there's different degrees of well-intentionedness versus just actually never having the intention of decentralizing at all. And I think the bigger thing is to kind of just standardize and sort of lay down the rules a bit, so that some projects don't really have as much of an opportunity to kind of wiggle out and try to claim that they're basically decentralized when they're actually not. And also make sure that the projects that have done a good job of that are properly getting credit on that.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense. So what you mean is basically practice what you preach, and if you're not doing that, there should be pressure applied, basically.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to summarize. I haven't really seen big divergences in what people preach. I'm only seeing divergences in what people practice.
Gotcha. Interesting. Thank you for that. All right. So Brendan and Bobbin, y'all are both going to take this. We'll go with Brendan first, and then Bobbin can also add their thoughts or other takes. So as we celebrate the launch of the zkEVM on Polygon, the Polygon ZK team is asserting leadership in the space and with their open source ideals and safe execution. How are your respective projects within Polygon positioning for this? And how are they embracing open source, and the ideal vision of decentralization overall in the ecosystem? Where are we going?
Yeah, sure. I can start. So I work on the Zero team. We sort of have a dual mandate, which is to work on proof system R&D. So we built Plonky 2 and Starkey and incorporated a lot of those optimizations and advancements in the zkEVM. And then we're also working on zkEVM stuff that we can maybe talk about in more detail in a couple of weeks. But I think for us, open source and decentralization is really important. I think that like one of the most rewarding things that we can contribute to the Ethereum community, to the crypto community, is the concept of public goods that are freely and permissionlessly usable by everyone. And so for us, it was really important to release our proving system optimizations under a really permissive MIT Apache license. And so I think that those decisions vary depending on whether we're talking about a full productionized system like a zkEVM versus sort of an underlying proving system library. But I mean, for us, decentralization and open source, I think are both core values and super important. So.
Oh yeah, Bobbin.
Yeah, I mean, I would basically echo the same thing. I'm a very big believer in open source. In fact, Polygon Mining project right now is under MIT license, it was under MIT license from day one. And as Brendan said, there's different considerations for something that is more kind of productionized versus something that is being a bit more experimental. But I do think there's a great benefit. If you open it up to the community, you get a lot of feedback. You get people looking through the code base and all that stuff. So it's good. It's good on both ends, in my opinion. You let people use it, but you also get benefit of people using it and finding bugs and fixing and contributing back to you. So I think for me personally, working under MIT license, that's what I've been doing for the last, I guess, 3 years, and I don't think I published anything under any other license. And in terms of mining specifically, so as I mentioned, it's another ZK project. I think the way we're thinking about it is that one of the nice things about L2s is that this is where you can innovate, and we are trying to explore other design approaches to the space. I think zkEVM is a super important and the crucial piece to have, but we also want to explore other state models that maybe better support privacy, better support local proof generation and things like that. So that is what we're exploring with Mainnet at this point.
Awesome. Great answer. I would also say, with this push for open source, and I might get to this a little later with people if we have extra time, the thought of collaboration comes to mind, which is kind of an antithetical thought to how L2s are working nowadays. But before we get into that, I want to make sure that I get Anthony here, because there's a question on Polygon ID. A lot of people don't know about Polygon ID, I feel like, just because it's been being worked on and a lot of the other, there's a ton of different ideas on ID. So what do you think about how Polygon ID upholds the Web3 ethos and the self-sovereignty ethos that a lot of the Web3 and Ethereum projects share? And can you add more details on how this is being achieved in light of the work that you've done with Polygon ID? And I guess a 2-sentence intro to Polygon ID would be nice too.
Okay, thanks, Hudson. Yes, I mean, how Jordi, David, and myself, we started our project with what was with Iden 3. And then at a certain moment, we saw that in order to vote, we needed to scale. And it's when Jordi started to thought on Hermes and how to scale on top of Ethereum. Then, yes, for us, and we have seen in countries where there is some problems with democracy, how important it is to have self-sovereign identity and the ownership of your data, and the fact that that nobody can censor you, and you can be always on the safe side and managing your keys. Then in our case, what now today is the day of zkEVM, but we have a lot of hopes on Polygon ID. That's our next big project, and we are very focused, and we have a lot of hopes on that. And the idea is that it should be the entry door to Web3 through your identity. You know, that through that you can manage all your keys, and you are able to access any kind of dApp or any kind of any service that you require, but always ensuring this privacy level that the zero knowledge proofs are able to provide.
Awesome, thank you. I was going to add another question on that. So is there plans or current designs for like a mobile interface or something that just really kills it on the user experience? Because that's like the #1 thing I hear about when it comes to a lot of these like ID solutions, all-in-one wallets, like things like that. So there's already a fragmented ecosystem. What is Polygon ID going to do to make it very accessible to users and non-fragmented?
Yeah, here, I mean, you are totally right, and the Polygon ID team is working very hard on the shadows, let's say, in a rogue mode. Then now in July, we will see a lot of new features, and then also by the end of the year, we should almost have the full stack or the major part of the new improvements. And yes, this mobile aspect is something that we are working on. And yes, the idea is that in the next month it should be announced.
Awesome. That's great to hear. I'm definitely looking forward to it. So I've run out of my prepared questions. So what I'm going to do is this. We're all going to take some time to do some closing thoughts. You can spend a couple minutes. It could be whatever you want. I'm not here to restrict you. This is a free space. So we'll go ahead and start with, let's start with David.
Well, I have open thoughts, but I would like to see that this solution of zkEVM becomes, the preferred solution for developers, because they understand what's behind this trust model that Vitalik was referring to. No, it's in the end we were, targeting projects to extend the decentralization, the security of Ethereum. It was not about centralizing again in layer 2. It needs to be clear path towards decentralization. Needs to be a clear strategy. We need to be transparent and verifiable. This is what we are trying to do with our model. Not only open sourcing, but also being transparent in all these aspects. So users, developers understand and know what's the plan in our site, what's the kind of network they are just betting on. It's not only about equivalence or features or these kind of things. It's about, for me, respecting the ethos of Web3 in terms of decentralization and trust model. So next thing we will do is enable this forced transaction, this forced batch, because initially we have a single sequencer, but shortly after that we will have these forced batches. Then we will target decentralization of proof generation, and then we will target decentralization of sequencing. While we address this improvement in security, these bug bounties, this maturity we want to achieve, but from the inception we have these protocols and these ideas in mind. So we are making technical decisions that enable us to decentralize in the midterm.
Awesome, great thoughts. I'll go ahead and give my 30 seconds of things. I think that the tech stuff at Polygon is amazing. One thing that I personally want to kind of get out as a message this year, and one of the reasons why I joined Polygon Labs, is that a lot of the stuff we're building in L2, scalability, privacy stuff, etc., is not a zero-sum game. As the founders of Polygon said from the first week it launched, there is no silver bullet to scaling, and I think the future holds that there will be a lot of different solutions. So a lot of the things we've seen both from Polygon and other teams that kind of go back and forth with friendly debates and then getting more heated debates, I think a lot of that is going to change this year, so that Polygon, besides getting known for the deepest, most interesting, and most well-built tech, also has kind of a, oh, they're the nice ones. They come in and help when, you know, another chain is having problems, or, you know, going and being on stage with other chains and being more collaborative in other ways on panels, maybe sharing research designs. Either way, how it ends up doesn't really matter, just that there is a new vibe this year. 2023 is like a new Polygon vibe, and I really believe in that. Next up, we're going to have Antoni.
Well, in my case, I don't want also to repeat what David was saying, no, but I remember that when Jordi came to us, one of why I left my previous work and I decided to join him is it was the idea also to help the unbanked, no, in that case, and how we could create a better world through decentralization, being censorship resistant, all these kind of qualities. So then I feel that this is another step in that direction. Okay, we are not yet there. Obviously, I'm not going to be so naive. There is a long journey still, but today we are closing a cycle of 3 years almost when everything started, when Jordi came up with the first brilliant idea. And I'm really proud of what we have done, knowing that we are not yet at the end of the road. No, then for me today is exactly, it's a day to enjoy, and yes, it's one day where I think we are one step closer to this idea that we have of a better world, of a better society. I think I feel we are in the right direction.
Excellent words, Bobbin.
Yeah, I would say I actually like your idea, Hudson, about like this kind of we're in this Web3 space, like we're all in this together. We need to collaborate with each other. This is like I think we want to lead by example in this as much as possible, and where we are you know, collaborating, like our tech can be used in other places and things like that. I think all of the Web3 space benefits from it, and in my mind, like this is a very important thing to achieve and strive forward. So like this is like we want to build this and scale and provide privacy and all of that stuff, but we also want to preserve the Web3 ethos of like collaboration and kind of collegiality and all that stuff. So like this is, for me, this is like a very important thing, and I hope we can achieve it.
Awesome. Vitalik, what about you?
I mean, I'm just like happy to see zkEVMs becoming real, you know, like I'm happy to see, yeah, like Ethereum layer 2 scaling becoming like fully real, and not just something that's kind of theoretical and there's these backdoors that you're not supposed to talk about. So, you know, it's a big improvement, and I think over the next 6 to 12 months, you know, we're probably going to see even more big improvements on the horizon as both other layer 2s start like step up and get to stage 1, and you know, Polygon zone implementation continues to improve over time, and at the same time we get EIP 4844 greatly increasing the amount of data space on chain, and rollups hopefully moving quickly to take advantage of that. So I'm, you know, excited to see all of those things happen, and excited to like really get to the point where we can start to call scaling a solved problem for Ethereum.
Wonderful. Brendan.
Yeah, I don't have too much to add. I would just say that the thing that I'm really struck by right now is just how far we've come. And like Vitalik was saying, like this was all theoretical. Like 3 years ago, no one thought that this would be possible. And you know, 2 years ago, the narrative was like, oh, like we'll never have general computation, ZK rollups. And then it was, oh, like maybe we could get to EVM compatibility, but like never EVM equivalence. And it's funny because when we joined Polygon and we talked with Jordi about building an EVM equivalent zkEVM, we were sort of like, well, like, you know, good luck with that. Like, I mean, we're not so sure. And so I would just say, like, full credit to Jordi and the team. This is like an amazing, astonishing accomplishment. And yeah, I think it just like opens up this huge space of possibility for what we can do in crypto. And I think the next year is going to be like incredibly exciting.
Completely agree. And last but not least, Mahalo. I think we got like exactly a minute and a half left. Go for it.
Thank you, Hudson, so much. I will abuse the opportunity to say two things instead of one. Number one, I completely want to echo what you just said, and that idea for Polygon 2023, which is more open, more helpful towards even other projects, including competitors, because as we all said, we're in this all in this together. We have been heads down building and really passionate about what we do, and we tend sometimes to be a little bit self-focused or a little bit closer than we should be, right? But that's only because we are heads down building, and sometimes maybe we get even a little bit defensive, maybe even on Twitter or whatever, because when you're passionate and you're really trying to do something the right way, and then there are some doubts about that, then you tend to get sometimes a little bit defensive. But we should completely, hopefully, change that in this year and really fully promote this ethos of collaboration and openness and being supportive to other projects as much as possible as well. That's one thing. And the second thing, I would just like to zoom out just for a second and maybe revisit, why are we doing all of this? Is this just a bunch of nerds, just trying to ship some cool tech? And why are we doing all of this? And just to Anthony's point that he mentioned, for me personally, this incredible idea of establishing this global network of value is absolutely mind-blowing. So with the internet, we have been able in these past decades to establish this global network of information and democratize access to information, right, and knowledge. So 20 years ago, it was impossible to imagine that today anyone with a mobile phone and internet access can attend an MIT course, learn to code, improve themselves and all of that. But many of these people don't have the opportunity to monetize now that knowledge or those skills or their talents. And that's why we need this global network of value, basically. We need this global permissionless economy that we're trying to build, and this human coordination. And I'm sure it can, I strongly believe, as all of the people here, that it can transform really our society in very profound and positive ways. So I'm very happy that today we have just one step closer to that grand idea. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Excellent words. So thank you so much. We are right on time. So I'm going to see if Grace wanted to come back in for anything closing, or if we just say so long. Oh, you're muted, Grace. Doing the same thing.
You're muted.
Yes. So excited. I forget to unmute. So thank you so much. This panel was exactly what I expected. I am so happy that we have emphasized the importance of the ethos that we live by in Web3, and more importantly, how do we embrace them in Polygon. So thank you so much for sharing that. Now we are at the final stage of our event. So I invite you to leave, but now we have to maintain here. We have to keep David and Tony. And
okay. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, I'm happy that you are here. I just wanted to share that the whole team, the zkEVM team, shares the passion and the excitement, and that we are incredibly grateful for the support that we receive from the Polygon family. So as we close this event, I just wanted to say that Tony and Anthony, that Anthony and David have been the pillars and the enablers of what we're celebrating today. So I'm sure you're going to have some really great messages. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Grace. Okay, then to close the conference, after 2 hours, we will try to keep it short. But when this morning, or 2 hours ago, sorry, Jordi was raising that there were 3 secrets to create the platform, I think he was missing the more important one that also Grace just mentioned. Okay, and that's the team. I mean, this has been a high performer team where I have seen engineers with 20 years of experience working in a very humble way, supporting wherever it was required, where there was a support and backup team creating a bubble and to avoiding any kind of noise for the team. And yes, from the more senior guy to the more junior guy, everybody was supporting. was really trying to collaborate. And I think this is something that we should never underestimate, because one work or one task like this one, it cannot be done by a single person. Okay, then at the same time, when these days we were in the final stage and there was 2 o'clock in the morning, there was a lot of pressure. We shouldn't underestimate that, because we're delivering. But people was nervous, were fixing things. What I always saw is that people was laughing. And I think this is very important also. This kind of passion, this enjoying the work, although obviously when you play at the highest level, pressure is there, but at the same time, how they were totally engaged with the project, this is something that I will keep always on my heart, and I will never forget. And yes, and then thanks to the team, I think that's something very important, also to the whole organization, the co-founders, the other teams, the corporate and the BD teams. Thanks for everything. This could have been impossible without Polygon, without one Polygon. And then the second part that also I want a little bit to raise due to my experience is that what I think that zkEVM will allow us is to become mainstream. Okay, there are a lot of use cases, and we have spoken a lot about that, no? In gaming, in DeFi, in payments, in supply chain, in ticketing, in NFTs, that where this kind of scalability was required. This is what I think that zkEVM can bring to the next level, because it will be seamless for developers or for any kind of company or enterprise who wants to join us, but always with the security and the soundness of Ethereum. And I think this could be very important. Then I encourage all the possible partners or developers to join us when possible. And yes, I hand over to my colleague David.
Thanks, Anthony. Well, I would echo most of what you said. I will start with giving thanks to ETH Global for setting up this event, giving thanks to Vitalik, he's very busy, all these panelists, all these participants. This was an amazing event, so we really appreciate that. Also, I would like to start giving thanks to the team, as Anthony was saying, the team, not only this Hermes team, the zkEVM team, but also the whole Polygon team, because this is a joint success from everyone. I don't want to miss anyone, but we have the ZK teams, Zero Maiden, marketing, comms, engineering, security team, applications, operations for partnerships, legal, the whole team. It was amazing. Thank you for your patience, just supporting this launch, because it was very aggressive and intense, but it was a pleasure to work with you all, and it's a success for the whole team. Also, I would like to give thanks to the auditors team, because as we have been discussing the whole day, security is a main topic and a main concern for us. They were super helpful. They were super patient also, because this is a very novel technology, very complex things to audit. Documentation needs some improvement still at this stage. So it was challenging for everyone, but we feel very comfortable about security at this stage to get to mainnet. And well, from my side, I would say that I think I mentioned later before, this is only the beginning. We have a lot of things to do. We put a high effort to implement this, as we discussed, in the process and the form that we consider the right way. We respected the times of development. We opened the source code. We did some testnets where we learned a lot of experiences. We did battle testing. We managed to ship thousands of zero-knowledge proofs. Then we did the security reviews. As Jordi was saying, for the last 5 months, we basically are refactoring things to improve, but basically security fixes and this kind of reviews, which was the big concern for us, because the prover was already implemented since October last year. But still, we managed to make the most of this time. Also, we have a super long backlog of issues and things to improve, because the technology is super novel. We are in a stage where we feel it's mature enough and practical to launch mainnet, but we have several lines of work. I would say the main concern when we started the project was, even for us, thinking on how we could build a prover that's practical. It was the contribution of Zero and Maiden. Basically, the technology of Zero enhanced the performance by 40 times, which was basically the difference between being practical or not. But I remember conversations with George at the beginning of the project. We were thinking on data centers, how we could prove all these polynomials, and it was super challenging for us. So we started this process of improvement until we got to a point that we are able to run proofs in a single server. A server that's in any cloud provider costs like $2 per hour, and we are able to do a proof of 10 million gas under 3 minutes of time. So for us, we get to a stage where proofs are not a concern anymore, and we are not also creating a big deal of a cost for users. So this is, I would say, the big achievement we got at this stage, but the network requires improvements because this is the beta mainnet, but still we need to improve a lot in terms of, I would say, we discuss security, but we have to improve also in the cost for users, because now the biggest cost in the gas fees for users will be basically data availability on layer 1, and this is something we made decisions that improve the future decentralization, but still we can apply some optimizations in this path, and this is pending. And also what we need to do beyond that is to accelerate sequencing and to improve the transactions per second rate, because in the end this was a scalability project, and this is what all was about. So this is the work we have to do from now. Today we will take some time to celebrate. Of course, this is a big achievement, but tomorrow we continue on this path of improvement and, let's say, completeness of the project. Also, we would like to become very soon a type 2 zkEVM, and there are some things we already know how to do and we need to apply. But this is a path that will take, during the next months or potentially the whole year. So, well, after this event, we got Vitalik doing the first symbolic transaction, and we really appreciate that. It was amazing, the quote he was putting in the transaction. But shortly after this event is over, we will publish the access of the Mainnet Beta in this Polygon website, in social, in blog, so anyone can get access to the network. It's public, it's permissionless. And Antonio already said, we will invite developers and users to test what's the flavor and the feeling of this EVM equivalence in a ZK rollup, which was the original objective and the big deal of all of it. And of course, we are super happy to achieve this, and we are open to feedback because some things might happen, but we want to learn from this experience from users. And we hope everyone enjoys the network and we can scale together a lot, and we can get feedback and receive contributions also, because we are super open to anyone contribution. But this is a celebration for us and an important milestone, and we hope everyone enjoys it. And yeah, thank you so much for this event. Thanks everyone for the support, and see you soon, I hope.
Thanks for everything.